Alright, you guys, ZFR back here once again, and I've just really been sitting back thinking about how I should tackle Cyberpunk 2077 because pretty much there's a lot of hate going around for the game. There's a lot of really valid criticism, and then there's people who really love the game who are just enjoying it, and then there's people who, yeah, they enjoy the game, but they're also turning way too big of a blind eye to all the problems that the game has. And right now, I think the biggest thing the game does need is a little bit of critiquing. It really does need the criticism right now, you guys. So yeah, I just been kind of wanting to really be specific about how I decide to go about covering this game. So pretty much what I've decided on is I do have some really cool videos about the game coming. Obviously, I've got some build ideas already that I kind of want to go through with. I want to talk about different topics and stuff with the game. I want to kind of go over some stuff and just, really have fun making content for this game going into this next year and stuff. I want this to be a big game on the channel. However, I do want to kind of air out all the problems I have with the game. Now, for those of you who didn't see it, I did have a Cyberpunk rant video up, and I pretty much covered a lot of things I had problem with that game, the loot system being one of the big ones. I even made a whole separate video about the loot system and why I'm upset with that. And, I talked about other stuff like things that were promised us that just weren't in the game. The game not exactly being what we want it to be, kind of the falsehood of choices in this game and stuff like that, the illusion of choices and all that. There was just a lot to kind of critique about the game, but I just want to go ahead and make sure I aired everything else out before I start making really cool content for this game, because I am excited about the content I'm going to be making for the game over the next couple weeks. So, getting into this is going to be the second part to the Cyberpunk rant. Now, in this video, I want to talk about mostly the stuff I did not like about the game. And the previous rant video, I talked about some of the things I did like and some of the things I didn't, but this one is going to be mostly about things that I don't like about the game, because I don't want this one to be as long as the previous. And like I said, we're going to have a ton of great stuff to talk about later on, so we might as well go ahead and get all the more criticism like stuff we have to say out of the way in this video. So let's go ahead and get straight into this. Before we really get started, I want to kind of bring up the recent rumor of a ton of content being cut from the game and the game supposedly getting re-released in June. That rumor has officially been debunked by CD Projekt Red, I believe either earlier today or yesterday. So yeah, that rumor is not true, or at least CD Projekt Red says it's not true. Now, could it be possible that there is some truth to it? Could it be possible that there was some stuff cut from this game and that they are working on some really big updates and possibly even adding in things that they originally cut from the game and stuff, because players seem to, be kind of demanding it and want, certain things added back in? Sure, it's possible, but if CD Projekt Red is doing something like that, they're probably not going to tell us until they're ready or until they're certain. But right now, I imagine them fixing the bugs and the last gen version, the current gen version, and all that type of stuff is probably their main priority at the moment. So I don't think we really have to worry about that anytime soon. I don't think we're going to be getting DLC for this game, at least not for, I'm going to go ahead and say probably not for the first half of this year. And when I say DLC, I mean major DLC. Like, we might get some of the smaller stuff like what they did with The Witcher in the beginning and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm expecting some improvements to come along, but probably nothing extreme just yet. So, getting into some of the other stuff, one of the big things I want to talk about more in this video that I felt like I kind of skimmed over in the last one was the illusion of choice in Cyberpunk 2077. So Cyberpunk 2077, I think a lot of people were expecting this game to be much more of an RPG than it actually is. It's very linear compared to what a lot of the marketing made it seem like it was going to be. And you know, I don't know. I kind of don't really like how the route they went with this. So pretty much, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a bunch of different things in this game that give what I like to call the illusion of choice. So there's the life paths. You know, you think you're going to go in and you're going to play as a different life path through 3 different playthroughs, and it's going to be completely different depending on which one you pick. You have all these different choices in the game, and you think depending on what dialogue option you choose at certain critical story moments, you know, you might get different missions, you might get different outcomes, you might get a drastically different story, right? But unfortunately, that's just not the case. A lot of the choices in this game don't matter, and a lot of them boil down to, as Twitter and a lot of memes are saying, boil down to a different way to say okay. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's a pretty big problem with the choices and options in Cyberpunk 2077, and I don't really know if this is something they could or even would take the time to kind of fix or possibly redo a little bit, leading up to, you know, the first big DLC release. I don't really know if I see CD Projekt Red going back in and, you know, rewriting some of these quests and adding more options and stuff in. However, it is something they have done in the past with The Witcher 3, so it's not completely out of the question, right? They have added extra dialogue and extra scenes and stuff like that in The Witcher 3. But even then, I mean, that was on a much smaller scale than what this game would need for something like that. Maybe if they do it at a slower pace, we can see that changed in the future. But honestly, I would probably just go ahead and guess that we would get more of that through DLC more than anything. So yeah, hopefully the DLC for this game really brings in more RPG-like choices that have consequences and stuff like that, because the choices in the main game at the moment, you know, outside of the prologue missions are pretty darn good, but outside of those, like, it's a pretty linear styled game, to be honest with you, with a few critical choices here and there, and even then they're pretty random and you don't really know which choices matter more than others. So yeah, overall that's how I kind of feel about the choices and RPG element in Cyberpunk 2077. It's really kind of weak, and this kind of carries on to the customization. The customization in this game, I don't know. So here's the thing. The customization seems very broad on the surface, and I guess to a certain extent it is. But because of the loot system, I'm not really going to dive into, once again, talking about my problem with the loot system, because I just talked about that a ton at this point. But because of that, it's very limited. The customization is very kind of choked off. And, you know, pretty much what I mean by this is you have all these different clothes, you have all these different options for how to make your character look, all these different weapons your character can use, all of and you then obviously all that kind of culminates with your skill tree and the skills you pick, and kind of comes together to make, you know, a really cool character build. Like, you can have a ton of cool character builds in this game, but sadly, because certain things are just completely unbalanced, or certain perks are way better than others, or certain or for instance, you're constantly picking up better gear than what you have. So even though you might have found like the perfect look for your character that you want for this particular build, the perfect weapons and everything, you're just going to pick up stuff that is much better, and it's going to work much better out in the world. So unless you invest heavily in upgrading and the crafting skill tree and stuff, you are going to be kind of missing out on the bigger RPG element of the game, which really does suck. Because that's what a lot of people were excited about towards the end before this game came out, is that RPG element, and to see it kind of choked off and to see kind of a stranglehold on it like this really does suck. It just really does. So hopefully they kind of tweak some of the perks in the skill tree in the future. Hopefully they also do something about this loot system. Once again, not going to talk too much about the loot system because I've already talked about that in my first rant, and I've made a separate video about it if you really want to see how I feel. But a good example of what I would like to see personally done is what Ghost Recon Breakpoint did with their loot system. They added in a completely alternative mode with a different type of loot system in it, and I personally really enjoyed that. So yeah, hopefully they go somewhere with that route. I think that would make a lot of people happy. That would be a much more enjoyable way to play the game, in my opinion. But obviously there's still some other things they would have to do if they did go that route, like giving you more weapon customization to make all of your weapons and guns a little bit more to keep them from going stale faster. They would definitely then have to put a little bit more work into giving the player customization options with their weapons and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see if they add any of that, and hopefully they do. But obviously right now they have bigger problems to worry about besides that. So moving on to the next thing I want to talk about is actually the gangs. So this is something that I really, and sorry about that, there was an alarm going off just there. But the gangs in this game are a really big disappointment. Now listen, here's the thing. The gangs are present in the open world in the sense of when you're free roaming around. You see them standing around. And if you take the time to read all the shards, they actually are doing some interesting stuff in these different places and stuff like that. And these different assault missions you can do for the police and everything. So the gangs are present in the world. However, they're not really present at all in the narrative, or in a narrative sense to begin with at all, really. You don't really interact with any of the gangs except the Maelstrom and the Voodoo Boys, and even then, I feel like those interactions were very limited compared to what I would have liked to see. What I personally would have liked to have seen, I would have liked to seen how you get a different quest chain with the different side characters like Judy and Panem and different characters. I would have liked to see a complete quest chain for each of the gangs, and where you can kind of work for them or work with them, and then towards the end of it you can choose to kind of side with them or to betray them or something like that. I would have liked to have seen just more from them, especially since they're such a big part of what Cyberpunk is. Anybody who knows the Cyberpunk lore knows that the gangs and stuff is a really big part of Cyberpunk. So the fact that it feels like they're kind of on the back burner in the main story of Cyberpunk 2077 is real. I don't know. It just didn't feel right to me. It felt really weird, and that was something I was not expecting from this game. If they had anything super prominent here, the gangs was one thing I was expecting, to definitely have a very big presence in this game. But unfortunately, like I said, outside of, you know, actual gameplay and open world exploration, they're not really there at all in a narrative sense. So hopefully they add more there with them in the future. Maybe those could be some new side quest chains they can add in through, whether it be free DLC or paid DLC. Hopefully free DLC, I'm not gonna lie, because that was kind of something that was teased and built up and promised. Well, maybe not promised, but it was just really built up that the games were going to be a big part of this game leading up to the launch. But unfortunately, it just seems like that's not the case in the final product. So yeah, I would like to see way more of them in the future, however they decide to do it. But yeah, anyway guys, that's really most of the things that I really just wanted to kind of go ahead and get off my chest for this second rant video. Like I said, I don't want to you know, constantly be making negative content about the game, because I really do enjoy the game. As you can see in the background, I have a ton of gameplay for the game. I'm on my second playthrough. I'm about halfway through my second playthrough at the moment. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm already planning my third one, and I'm planning different builds and stuff like that. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of content for this game on this channel, and I don't want you guys to think I hate the game or anything, or dislike the game. But you know, the game does have problems. I do want to see the game get better, and I don't want to, you know, be overly positive about the game when it hasn't really earned it, hasn't really deserved it as of yet. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a fun game, but you know, in terms of what should have been there, you know, a lot of it's missing. And you know, that's just something that we kind of have to hold CD Projekt Red to, you know, because that's on the standard. Doing that is what makes games better. Once again, I know I've already brought it up, but just look at Ghost Recon Breakpoint and the problems people have with that game. Because the community was so harsh on the developers, because they did continuously criticize the game and stuff like that. But you know, the developers didn't give up. They didn't shut down. They buckled down. They did some hard work, you know, and it still wasn't perfect, but they did end up making their game into a better product because of that. And I think Cyberpunk has a chance to do that too. I think this game definitely has a chance to be drastically better in the next year or so. So yeah, let's just keep encouraging them to improve. Let's keep pointing out the things we like, dislike about the game, and what we want to see changed or added in, or even maybe removed. You know, let's just be honest with them, and hopefully we'll get a really good product as an end result. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave likes and comments down below. Tell me what you guys think about Cyberpunk 2077. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because like I said, we are going to have a ton of content coming. Especially, don't forget that I am still doing the Cyberpunk Lethal comic. I know it's been a second since I've talked about it, but there's a reason for that. I'm going to be talking with you guys about sometime next week coming up. So stay tuned for that, because we have a lot of cool stuff on the way. So make sure you definitely hit that subscribe button if you want to be a part of Cyberpunk 2077's kind of renewal. Like, we're definitely going to do our part in trying to, you know, help this game grow into something better than it currently is. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to do all that great stuff down below, and I will see you guys on the next one. ZFR out, you guys.